We were all fooled, and for years they lied to our faces. This lie continues even now, heard all over the world on television, radio, and billboards. The lie that plastics are recyclable. This deception is driven by the industry that most threatens our planet's health, aiming to keep selling the most dangerous product while simultaneously shifting the blame for the damage onto you, the consumer. Plastics are among the most interesting and useful products of human engineering. Don't get me wrong, they're cheap, lightweight, and durable, making them an unparalleled choice in almost every field of engineering, from massive structures like buildings and bridges to cars, sports equipment, computers, and phones. The manufacturing principle is fascinating. Just as proteins that run our cells are produced by linking small building blocks called amino acids, monomers, and DNA is formed by a chain of nucleic acids, monomers, plastics are produced by linking simple molecules called monomers in a chain. That's why you sometimes hear plastics referred to as polymers. DNA is a natural polymer, but PVC water pipes are synthetic polymers. All of this about plastics is fine, but the balance quickly shifts when we put the damages of plastics on the other side of the scale. It's incredibly hard to get rid of plastics because they consist of tightly bonded chains. Consequently, very few mechanisms in nature can break them down. Some bacteria, fungi, and worms can break down plastic, but they are in the extreme minority, and the process is very slow. That's why a plastic water bottle tossed into nature can persist for 450 years. Plastic straws take 200 years to decompose, leading to images of straws stuck in the noses of sea turtles. The remnants of the toothbrush we use today will still be detectable in the year 2521. We produce and consume so much plastic that the whole world is currently covered in it. For instance, in the Pacific Ocean, islands consisting mostly of plastic waste have formed, spreading over 1.6 million square kilometers, 3 times the size of Turkey. They cover the surface and degrade the quality of the ocean. Plastic waste is even worse still. Plastics do break down, but the decomposed pieces don't just disappear. They first break into small fragments, then even smaller ones, and so on. At some point, this process creates tiny plastic particles called microplastics. These particles enter circulation much more easily by mixing with air or water than a bag or a bottle. Sadly, a study conducted this year found microplastics even in the placenta formed during childbirth, and in the bodies of the babies to be born through that placenta, as this contaminant mixes into everything we eat and drink. Moreover, some plastics are inherently unhealthy. When scratched, exposed to extreme temperature differences, or left for long periods, plastics start leaching chemicals into food, drinks, and the environment. Substances like diethylhexyl phthalate, or bisphenol A, BPA, found in some plastics are harmful to humans and animals, causing cancer. BPA is a chemical that acts like estrogen, capable of disrupting your hormonal balance. Why do we use so much plastic? This is where the great lie comes in. The most crucial detail about plastic is that this artificial product is produced as a petroleum byproduct. The usual suspect in all environmental crises shows up again. We use about 4% of the world's extracted oil in plastic production. First produced in 1869, plastics quickly became the main building block for kitchenware, food packaging, industrial sectors like automobiles, textiles, and numerous other products, because they were extremely cheap, easy to produce, and very easy to shape. The understanding and widespread adoption during World War II also significantly contributed to this rapid transformation. The petroleum companies, which grew even richer during World War II, spent enormous amounts of money to market plastics, which were unfamiliar to the public after the war. The Plastics Industry Society, now the Plastics Industry Association, representing all petroleum, chemical, and accessory manufacturing firms across the supply chain, spent millions of dollars annually, in today's money, on advertisements promoting plastic consumption and getting people accustomed to it. The public, however, the environmental movements of the 1960s and 70s saw the threat plastic posed to the environment and quickly organized massive protests targeting plastic and petroleum companies. These activists managed to raise public awareness against plastics. The Great Lie was born out of this public pressure. Instead of tidying up their act, plastic companies began marketing a new lie, as deceptive advertisements cost a few $1 million, while making plastic technology environmentally friendly would likely cost billions. The lie they told was that plastics are recyclable. The lie largely worked. People started collecting plastics en masse and tossing them into recycling bins. Recycling laws were passed in many countries and cities, but the plastic industry managed the process with very sly moves. For instance, in 1988, they passed a law in 40 states in the US, forcing all produced plastics to be stamped with a recycling symbol containing a number in the middle. This was a completely misleading move. They took the famous 3-arrow recycling symbol, slightly modified its design, and stamped a number in the middle, creating the perception that all plastics were recyclable because they all bore the same 3-arrow symbol. People soon fell for this lie, thinking the number inside the arrows symbolized how many times the plastic could be used and how easy it was to recycle. This is completely false. That number is a resin identification code that simply indicates the material the plastic is made of. For example, the number 1 corresponds to polyethylene terephthalate, PET, often known as PET bottles. PET bottles leach plastic easily, so you shouldn't use them more than once. 2 is high-density polyethylene, HDPE, often seen in butter tubs, detergent bottles, and milk jugs. 3 is polyvinyl chloride, PVC, often used in fast food containers and plastic pipes. 4 is low-density polyethylene, LDPE, common in plastic wrap and shopping bags. 5 is polypropylene, PP, found in yogurt cups, diapers, and harder bottles. 6 is polystyrene, PS, known as styrofoam or foam plastic. 7 is for other general plastics, often including bisphenol A and polycarbonate. These numbers are irrelevant. The crucial thing was for you to see the symbol, believe it was recyclable, and think you were being environmentally friendly by tossing it into the blue bin. The president of the Plastics Industry Society, Larry Thomas, said, "If the public thinks that recycling works, then they won't be concerned about the environment." Do you see how we were deceived? These giant corporations constantly tell a lie about the climate and environmental crisis. You are responsible, you are to blame, you can solve this. In reality, those recycling bins are largely an illusion. At most, 8.9% of the plastics you throw away are recycled because almost no plastic is recyclable. Only PET1 and HDPE2 can be recycled, and even they can be processed at most 1 or, if you're lucky, 2 times. After that point, they lose their integrity and resistance. They are not like metal or glass. Aluminum, steel, and glass can be melted and reused endlessly, but plastics cannot. And even that limited recycling only happens if companies choose to spend money separating, recycling, and remanufacturing the randomly discarded waste, which most of them never choose to do, simply creating an illusion instead. Documents published by the plastic industry show that collected plastics have no meaningful use, and that producing them from scratch will likely remain profitable forever, yet they want you to believe that plastics are recyclable. This is not the first time they've done this. A report produced by the oil giant Exxon in 1982 and another published by Shell in 1998 predicted that if we continue to extract and burn oil, releasing carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, the planet's average temperature would increase by about 1 degree by 2020 and 3 degrees by 2021, 2080, leading to devastating consequences. They anticipated public backlash and potential harm to their firms, underscoring the importance of transitioning to alternative energy strategies. We are now in 2025/2026. The average temperature has indeed risen by 1.1 degrees, exactly as they predicted in the 1980s. A temperature rise of 2.5 to 3 degrees by 2080 is highly likely. The two sides of the same coin, the oil and plastic industries, arrive at the exact same devastating conclusion. Yet they ignored everything, continuing production at full speed, accelerating even. They obstructed technologies that would allow us to move away from oil and natural gas, all to maximize their profits, selling your children's future to multiply their own money. And they are still doing it. Don't be fooled by their eco-friendly green marketing efforts. In the US, they even passed laws that prohibited the future banning of plastics before any local bans were even established. The only way to overcome these tricks is to be aware of the schemes and prepare accordingly. Recycling 8.9% of plastics is better than 0%, so you can put in the effort. But be aware that if your plastic is dirty, e.g., has a pizza stain, or mixed with other plastics, it will never be recycled. These are usually incinerated or dumped into the oceans, both catastrophic outcomes. Therefore, to be an environmentalist, don't rely solely on recycling. Instead, focus more on reducing your plastic consumption and the reusability of the products you use. For example, use glass, steel, or ceramic. Try to use the bags you already have. Don't buy new ones. Don't be fooled by the choice when paper is offered instead of plastic. Both are polymers, and both are minimally recycled. Paper can theoretically be recycled 6 to 7 times, but with severe quality loss each time. And it often doesn't get recycled, sometimes even creating more solid waste than plastic. Completely change your perspective. Get reusable cloth bags you can use hundreds of times and take them with you when shopping. Try to stay away from PVC-3 and polystyrene 6 plastics. If plastics marked with 7 don't have PLA or a pine tree symbol on them, assume they contain BPA and avoid them. Instead of making many small purchases, try to buy more products in a single trip, if financially possible, to reduce bag consumption somewhat. If you must use plastic, choose PET1 or HDPE2, and try to reuse the 2 numbered ones. Don't discard them after a single use. Beyond this, never forget that you can't solve the environmental crisis alone with your actions, and that this is a distraction game. Problems are created by giant corporations and the governments that enable them. Therefore, they are the ones who must solve the problem. Our role is to apply the right pressure, elect the right people, and stop seeing environmental activists as poor hippies, but as warriors trying to secure your future. Participate in political processes, and don't let large firms blind local and national politicians with fancy stories. Learn science from science communicators and scientists, not from the advertisements of